Thanks for having us, everybody. As Sharon indicated, we're going to talk about the future of meetings, navigating Teams meetings with Teams Premium advanced features. So Ryan and I are here to talk to you today. We'll dive in shortly. Before we do, we'll just take a moment to introduce ourselves. My name is Galen Keene. I am the CEO and lead architect of Lion Tech. I'm also the co-owner and engineer at Emperor Media Group, which is a company that focuses a lot on meetings and events and capabilities to broaden the reach of an event and level it up to several degrees if possible. There's a great co-owner you'll meet shortly that I'm happy to own that company and operate it with. I'm also the president of the San Diego Microsoft 365 Productivity Group, and I did not name that group, otherwise it would have been a much shorter name. Um, just like this group, we meet monthly, and you can find us on Meetup. We have a meeting this Thursday, and so it would be super cool to see you guys there. We'd love to have you, so please pop on over if you can. And I'm just really happy to be here speaking to the Kansas City user group because as I've gotten to know Sharon and the Smarter Consulting team more, we're doing some very deep and strategic collaborations together. So I'm hoping to meet more of the local KC crowd as time goes on.
Hello, everybody. My name is Ryan Scouten. As Galen mentioned, love being here and be able to work with the Kansas City community. Not the first time that I'm sure Galen and I have presented here, even as far as the Kansas City SharePoint Saturday back in the day as well, and the M365 collab days, whatever we end up calling it anymore. But yeah, so I'm a Microsoft MVP, also own my own consulting company, Mahai Consulting. And then, as Galen mentioned, also co-owner on Emperor Media Group, and just love being able to connect and interact with people and be able to kind of share all the cool stuff that we have available to us and how we can get the most benefit out of it. All right, so going forward, one of the things that, as Galen and I were preparing for this presentation, one of the things that we really found as a common theme among the features of Teams Premium is we found that the biggest thing is Teams Premium and all the features that we're going to talk about today allow you to enhance connection. I know Galen had mentioned with his fun little picture in the beginning that everybody's just kind of looking down at their phones. Teams Premium allows us to be able to actually connect with people better during the meetings. And we're talking about before meetings, so we're scheduling it during a meeting and following up. And then we also have some specialized connections where Teams Premium allows us to be able to integrate and connect in some specialized ways and some special scenarios that kind of make those connections a little more available to a lot more people. And so, yeah, as we're going through this, that's one of the themes that we're going to kind of keep pointing out is, okay, hey, this is how it can help us enhance connections with people, especially it's one of those things pre-COVID era, post-COVID era. We want to make sure that people are able to connect and to be able to get back to what in a lot of ways has been lost with the more shift to remote work. This allows people to be able to connect better going forward.
Cool. So as we dive into the content, what we'll do is we'll talk about each of these areas, from scheduling a meeting to how you can leverage Teams Premium during a meeting and how you might use it following up on a meeting. And as we do this, we'll look to shift from PowerPoint into demo land. So we'll have some live demos. You'll see some of the Lion Tech tenant as we do this, and as you have questions, please raise your hand in Teams. Feel free to just speak up. However you have a question, please ask it. We want to make sure that as we go, we have a good, healthy dialogue. So feel free to jump in anytime. All right, so we're going to talk about scheduling a meeting, and Teams Premium provides several capabilities to enhance your experience when scheduling a meeting with someone. Whether that's like through virtual appointments or through more of a traditional meeting experience where you're kind of pushing out a template to somebody. They get a meeting request in their inbox. What does that look like? They join a meeting. What is that experience? All of that can be controlled with a number of different options that are only available through Teams Premium. I think the one that we've begun to use quite often is meeting templates. And anytime you go now to schedule a meeting, once that meeting's scheduled, you can go in and look at the meeting options. And this controls things like, who can bypass the lobby, or are you automatically recording the meeting? Is chat available? All of those little things. We'll go into those in more detail in just a moment. But all of those options are configurable. So you might have some templates where they're automatically recorded, or some templates where chat's not available, um, things of that nature. As well, you can control, some customizations that you experience when you join a meeting, things like that. Those can be compiled into a grouping, and configured into a template. So maybe you have certain templates that are available to, like, your salespeople, some that are available to project managers, all with different maybe images for backgrounds, or whether they can share screens, and if they do share screens, are they watermarked or not, to control security settings. Maybe in project management meetings, they're always recorded, but in sales meetings, they're never recorded, those kind of things. All of that can be compiled into templates and made available to groups of employees, so that they simply select the template that's applicable to the meeting they're creating, and all of those options are already configured. And then the other area around scheduling a meeting is in what we call virtual appointments. And this is a pretty cool feature. It's available in Teams. So virtual appointments are not unique to Teams Premium, but what is unique to Teams Premium are some enhanced capabilities around SMS notifications. So there's other products on the market where when you have a meeting, it might send a text message as a reminder. With virtual appointments, you can also get that through Teams Premium. So I like to think of virtual appointments being very useful, especially in an education scenario where you might have a professor who's going to schedule one day to meet with their students individually, and they might have like back-to-back meetings. Well, in this case, the students would receive an SMS notification, ensuring they're aware of the upcoming meeting. They might join that in Teams and see a custom waiting room. There's a queue of scheduled appointments that the professor might see as they're going from meeting to meeting, and then finally some analytics that let them understand better how that day of meetings went. So Teams Premium on the scheduling side brings to the table quite a few features that enhance the experience and deepen the connection. Anything you'd like to add, Ryan?
No, yeah, a lot of the stuff we have here is it kind of ties over a lot of and one of the things we get asked a lot when we do this presentation is, and so don't hesitate to ask if we forget to mention it, is what features do I need the actual Teams Premium license to be able to take advantage of, and who needs that license? Because that's one of the things is a lot of the features here are things that it varies based on who needs the license. So when we're talking about a lot of the pre-meeting stuff, like scheduling the meeting, taking advantage of these meeting options, all that sort of stuff, the ability to access the virtual appointments and the SMS notifications, in that situation, the organizer is the only one that needs the Teams Premium license. Everybody else gets to benefit by the fact of them having the Teams Premium, but only the actual organizer needs it in this scenario. So it's kind of one of those, does everybody have to have Teams Premium? Not necessarily. To access meeting templates, yes, they have to have it to have a lot of the options here and we'll talk about some of the others as we get into it, to the next section. But yeah, it's just a lot of these are organizer only to be able to benefit from these features. And I'm sure we can get into in the demo, we'll see that there's sections that even in the for virtual appointments, they actually have an indicator in the UI of who needs to which areas of that application need the Teams Premium license, and they kind of Microsoft's Premium indicator is just a little diamond they put on the item. So
Very cool. Yeah, great point. So we'll look to flag that as we proceed through the conversation. So that being said, hey, let's go ahead and jump into the meeting and take a look around. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the Lion Tech view of my calendar here. And you can see that I'm in the Lion Tech tenant. And I think we're all used to seeing a calendar in Teams, right? This is nothing novel here. And I can create a new meeting from this calendar simply by clicking on the button in the upper right-hand corner. But there is a drop-down menu, and this, again, nothing new. You have this drop-down menu whether you're using Teams Premium or not, right? These options for these templates are available to everyone. It's just that without Teams Premium, you cannot create and configure your own templates. And so what do I mean by that? You'll note at the bottom, there's a custom template option. And you can see that I've got four custom templates that have been created based off of whether I'm in a client meeting or this is an opportunity call. Maybe I have certain client meetings where I know I'm not going to record, and then others that I am going to record. But the scenario here would be, from an opportunity call point of view, I have a sales team, right? And maybe that sales team needs to have certain watermarks in case somebody does begin to take screenshots of, our demos or things like that. All of that will be watermarked. If there's a recording happening and there's a sharing of a screen, that'll be watermarked. Maybe I might have project managers that are having client meetings and going over project statuses and creating action plans, and therefore I want that to be recorded so that I can get those action items and the meeting notes from those meetings. All of the options that we would typically have to do manually, we set in these templates, and it makes it much more standardized and much easier for those particular roles to ensure that they always have their meetings configured the right way when the meeting is scheduled. So this is how easy it is to go ahead and create a meeting using that template. And I've just gone ahead and clicked on the client meeting recorded, and you can see that I've got options on the right-hand side of the screen here. And I've got things like record and transcribed automatically enabled. So that's all controlled through the template. Of course, I can click on more options and see each of the individual options, that's already been set. And the way I've configured this template is that certain options can be edited. So I can go in and say, oh, I chose that, but for this particular meeting, I do not want it to automatically record. I can lock those settings to ensure that, they cannot be modified if I choose. Any questions about templates?
While they're thinking their questions, yes, one thing that I love about the templates is it ensures that they don't have to worry about, hey, did I remember to turn on recording? Did I remember to turn on X? Did I remember to configure the lobby the correct way? They're able just to say, okay, hey, I know everything's configured. I can just click on this template and then they're off and running. Everything's configured. They don't have to deal with the oops, I missed an option here and now got to try and recover from it.
Yeah, how many meetings have you been in? we're like 10 minutes into the meeting. They're like, oh, I forgot to hit the record button. And somebody hits it. And then another person has to talk really fast to catch the recording up with everything that's happened so far. It's funny. Um, okay. So in addition to showing you the template and like how to use it in the platform, let's take another look at where you actually configure the template. So we go into the Teams admin center, and you can see the admin center on screen now. And I've obviously gone into uh, an area of meetings. So we're really going to play in a couple of different areas within the Teams admin center. And these customization policies, which we're going to come back to in just a moment, and in the templates area. So there is a specific area for meeting templates, not just a policy that controls the configuration of the template. And you can see those meeting templates that you saw when I went down to customize templates. This was the flyout, right? And I think I chose client meeting recorded. So if I select that one and then click on edit, you'll see, guess what? All of the meeting options that you can configure individually within Teams when you schedule a meeting right here. And you have the opportunity to name it, of course, and to provide a description. So these are all of the settings associated with this particular template. It's as simple as that, not rocket science at all. Once you have your templates created, then you can push out those templates to audiences via policies. So it's pretty easy to do from that perspective. Now, in addition to these templates here, like I said, there's some policies, and this might be where you decide who's going to be assigned specific templates. So we have this demo policy, and in this particular policy, we've made like all of the templates available. But we could obviously target just specific templates and then associate this policy with a specific group of users, and that's how you push those out. Again, very simple to actually configure and get going. So the power to make a big impact here is really simple and quick to do. Um, the other thing, customization policies. I guess we'll get to that in just a moment. So I'm just going to cue that tab up. And before we pivot over to what it looks like when you're in a meeting, any additional questions about scheduling meetings? All right.
All right.
Cool.
Clears none,
Then,
apparently.
yeah, one section down. Let's move forward.
Cool.
We'll talk about during a meeting.
Yeah. So kind of like I said, we in the beginning, we're kind of breaking up as a pre, during, and post. So while we're in a meeting, there's a lot of features that we can take advantage of as well. So going forward, we'll be able to use this. And one of the things that, and kind of Galen alluded to, we'll come back to that screen in just a minute, is if you have Teams Premium, you can actually brand the experience of what's happening in the meeting. So what that means is that allows you to set a few different items. So we can set, as in the screenshot we have on here, you can set the background that shows up in the as people are joining into your meetings. You can set the logo at the top, and then you can also set the color scheme. So that way, as your attendees or your coworkers, whatever, are coming into your meetings, you can have a consistent feel so people can be confident that, okay, yes, this, I know this company's brand, this is the company I'm working with. It kind of allows them to feel a little more comfortable as, okay, hey, this is, I'm in the right place. It's not just the old black screen that if you don't have Teams Premium that everybody sees. And as part of this, you can also apply different, as Galen mentioned, different customization policies to different people. So you could have your sales team have a different branded experience, different backgrounds and colors than your engineering or your executive teams. So that way, if they have something, they can adjust it. So it's okay, hey, yeah, I'm meeting with the Contoso sales team. It can have a completely different look to it to be able to say, okay, hey, this is a sales call, which goes back to our meeting templates comes in handy because they can say, okay, hey, we're good to go. Also, for this particular feature, only the organizer is the one that has to have Teams Premium to get benefit from this one as well. Because if the organizer has it, then the policy that they have will go into effect and the branding will show for that particular meeting. And then the other cool one is live translation. If you're working with an organization that is multinational, multilingual, the ability to actually have translation in the meeting is just it's killer. You can't. I'm trying to do it without it. There's a lot of times I've been in meetings with people in different languages where people have to pause and let alone, as Galen mentioned, like, oh, okay, hey, wait a minute, we got to catch the recording up, catch people up with the different languages, and have people to have to repeat things in have an interpreter translate to different languages. The ability to have it translated automatically is awesome, and it does a really good job working with it, working with different teams. I was on a call with somebody that was speaking in a different language, and so we just changed the language, the spoken language on it, to the language they're speaking, and had the transcript language in English. And now the rest of us were able to follow along with the conversation. And so it wasn't as all of us just kind of sitting there twiddling our thumbs, waiting for to figure out what the conversation is. Everybody's able to be connected and be a part of the same discussion. And the next one is meeting protection. So this is a lot of the things that some of the configurations and the meeting options Galen was talking about. So you have, for example, watermarking. And this is dynamic watermarking. So basically, as you can see in the screenshot, it'll put on there the person that's connected in their email address that they're signed in with. So that way, if something happens to leak, it's got their email address written all over the thing. So it's like, okay, well, who did it? You know. With that, you can do the watermarking both on the slide, the screen that's being shared, whether it's slides or whatever, also on the cameras. So if somebody happens to say, hey, they snag a screenshot of somebody's camera, you actually have that information so you can watermark those as well. Also, with the one of the options you've got is the ability to do end-to-end encryption of the meeting. So that way you can confirm that, hey, this meeting is protected, everybody's happy, and it's good, which allows you to be able to make sure that, okay, hey, everybody's comfortable in the meeting. They don't have to worry about, okay, oops, something got set out that somebody's going to pick up on. Sensitivity labels as well gives you the ability to apply retention policies and protections on the meeting based off of that. And these labels can also be applied to the template too. So that way you can say, hey, I'm creating this type of meeting. I always want this meeting to have this sensitivity label to make sure that that content from coming in and out of it, whether it's the chats, whether it's the recordings, make sure that all that information is protected. And then the attendee, hiding the attendee names. This really comes in handy if you're, for example, having a meeting or doing a webinar with potential customers. You don't want people's names, like your potential clients' names, coming out there in case you have a competitor decides to jump on your webinar. Or, for example, if you have a large event where you've got people that are not comfortable with their name being on there, you can hide that. Like if you have a user group meeting, we can hide the attendee names. Then the rest of the attendees don't see the names. Only the presenters and organizers can see the names. That way they can still collaborate and know who's attending, but then they're not sharing some of that information that people may be sensitive about having out there. And as we said before, all this ties into being able to make sure that, hey, are we comfortable? And so we can focus on connecting instead of, okay, hey, I've got to make sure that everything's on the up and up. All right, so let's go ahead and we'll go to our demo now. Galen, since you've got it up, let's go ahead and look at the customization policies so we can look at our branding, and then I'll show what it actually looks like in play. So yeah, we have the one policy in the tenant. So if we can go ahead and open that policy, we have a few options. And one of the things that we didn't necessarily talk about, but we can, is we have a few different things we can do. We have the theme, which allows you to be able to control the different pieces of that. So you can say, okay, hey, as I mentioned before, you've got the You got the logo, you've got the background image, and you got your color scheme. Also, both of which, all of these, you can also, they give you options, so you can try it out with both somebody in light mode and somebody in dark mode. So that way you can make sure it looks. And then there's one of the cool things as well is they have the option where you can preview, and it gives you, here's what exactly it's going to look like, and you can toggle back and forth between light and dark just to say, okay, hey, what does this look like? So as you can see, in this particular one, we've got it all configured for dark mode, less so for light, but it works. Then we can go ahead and close that. The other thing that you do get is the ability to push out backgrounds, organizational backgrounds. So for example, we have the Lion Tech logo on there. So I can come into my video and effect settings right now, and I'm just going to go ahead and turn it on. And now because it's pushed out and I have Teams Premium, that background is available to everybody that's got that policy applied to them. So as we mentioned before, you can have different policies for different groups of people. So you can have different backgrounds and work through that. All right. So with that,
So, like, quick comment on that. If you're running any type of pre-sales, or I say sales a lot because one of the things that people who join a Lion Tech meeting always comment on is like, hey, that lobby was a little bit different. And then as we're talking, as you're talking, like right now, we're talking, and there's a little purple border to our square, probably. I'm not really seeing it, but you know what I'm talking about. That color in a Lion Tech meeting is not purple. It is this like pink orange kind of color, right? And it's just a conversation starter. It's something to like just differentiate the company a little bit from every other meeting. And like I said, it's a conversation starter. And then finally, when Ryan was talking about like roles, sales versus project management and stuff like that, well, the backgrounds are hugely important there. So you can imagine that, you have backgrounds with well-placed logos and might, be driving, the product announcements, whatever that may be, that's available to specific employees. And as you can see here, it applies a background blur when no effect is selected. So you can control that experience that your employees are having when they meet virtually. Uh, so it's very much the way you want it to be.
yeah, and you don't have to, like, for example, really the background blur really comes in handy. You don't have to worry about, okay, oops, somebody's kid is peeking around the corner in the background and distracting the focus of the call. So I know we've all seen that the image of the newscaster had his kid walk in in the meeting. So this kind of helps alleviate those, oh, wait a minute, what is that in the background types discussions? Which actually those could be a good thing, but there's time frames depending on the team where you don't necessarily need those conversations. So one thing I'll show as well, I'm going to go ahead and go and share my screen now. And just a different experience. I'm also sharing this, doing this from the browser version just to show, okay, hey, it still applies, it still takes effect. So I'm just going to go ahead. I just created a new meeting. This is a fairly basic one. And this is going to be, oops, I can type today. So I'm just going to do a basic one. As was mentioned, we have the options for end-to-end encryption and watermark. So I'm just going to go ahead and turn these on. And we have a few different options that we can set here as well. So it really comes in handy to be able to control the experience, because if you want just a single one, then it'll just be the single thing on the image, or you can have it all over the place. I'm going to go ahead and hit save. So if we look at it, so this particular meeting, once it sets up here, wow. My meeting has disappeared. Did I not? Should have been here. Okay, hold on, do a quick refresh. Something is misbehaving.
I've had a few fun things happen with teams today and meetings I've been in this morning.
As I say, I'm glad it's not just me. It does happen sometimes.
All right, well, let's try to see if I can do the same thing in the full Teams client. All right, new meeting. Other than my Outlook did ping, like it actually created it, but it's just not showing here. Weird. Okay, let's create a new one. God, I love Teams. All right, same options, watermark on that. Save. All right. Just in case. Sometimes Teams can be a little bit finicky if you don't include attendees. Okay. Yay, now it showed up. All right, so let me see if the web actually still shows it. Now it shows it. All right, cool. So I'm just showing it. So as you can see, this particular meeting, we've got it set up since I'm part of the policy. The brand is all here. So we've got the Lion Tech logo, and on the top, we've got the background image displaying. And as Galen mentioned, we have the change in color to match the brand that we've selected. So I'm actually going to leave audio on just to make sure. I'm going to change to this guy, just because we'll have some demoing here of some other parts. All right, so now that I'm going to join, cool, I'm in here. And as you can see, that color theme that we talked about is more than just, okay, on some of the buttons. It's everywhere where normally in Teams, it's purple. It is now no longer purple. So I can come in, and it's not going to show since I'm only in here by myself. But even the notification around would be that same color scheme. What I'm going to do, just for another part here, I'm going to go ahead and start transcription. This is in English. Cool. All right, so now this is just a separate meeting, so I'm the only one in it, but it'll talk, it'll hear me talking, it'll have the different pieces as part of this meeting, and everything is getting transcribed as per usual. This is nothing new, anything fancy to just Teams Premium. The difference that we do get is that attendees have the options that they can show captions. Okay, nothing fancy, but they can also choose the caption language. So I can come in and now say, hey, I want the language to be French. And now the captions and everything underneath is now showing in French. It's one of those things. Do I have it here? Not one of the cool places. We got it one of the other parts we can talk about, but so we can have a number of different languages. I think that Microsoft has up to 40 that we can pick from. But so it goes through. Also, the cool thing that we can do is in the transcript, because I changed the language, it's now also showing it there. But I can also toggle to turn on English. Well, show both the source language, so the spoken language, and the translated language at the same time in the transcript. So we have both in there, so I can say, okay, yep, this is what I said, and this is how it was translated. So it really comes in handy to be able to allow that connection between the attendees and the presenters to be able to connect with their native language. Now, it does a pretty good job. There's only been a few minor instances I found where the translation is not quite what it should be. Most of the time, that's more of just the fact of the transcription was not what it should be, but it does a really good job with being able to enable that functionality. Just to show, if I turn on my camera here, I should have watermarking. Oh, no. Wrong camera. So once if you have other people in the meeting, they'll be able to see their information there. So we'll go ahead and skip that part for now. All right. Any questions at this point? All right. Silence is good.
Cool. So I will switch back to sharing. Now, Ryan, real quick, we were talking about who needs the license.
Yep.
So,
I'm just thinking about that while you're prepping. So as part of the different areas, so because we talked about the branding, the theme. So the organizer has to have the Teams Premium license to be able to get the theme showing and the custom backgrounds. Live translation also is just the organizer has to have it. The same thing with watermarking, sensitivity labels. So everything that we talked about is as far as almost all the features pre-meeting and during the meeting. To get the benefit of it, you just have to have the organizer has to have Teams Premium.
so if you'd like to read what we're talking about now in Spanish, say, you should be able to simply go to language and speech and say show live captions, and then click on the gear to access the settings, and then choose the caption language. And I think if I know Ryan, he was probably looking for Klingon.
I was. It's one of those ones that I like demoing because it makes it kind of fun just to show the geeky nature of Microsoft. But I do have to say though, it does not show up here in the translation languages here for captions, but it is there for Town Hall's automatic translation. So keep an eye out for that one. So if you're doing a town hall or a live event, Klingon is a valid option and selectable in the translation.
Maybe that has to do with the Klingon culture not having small meetings. They only have large town hall meetings.
The large battles.
Yeah. All right. Very cool. So you can take advantage of that because I think somebody hosting this meeting has Teams Premium. All right. So we went through the demo. We've got, again, captions, watermarks, and the various templates that you can roll out, the branding experiences, excuse me. So now let's move over to meeting follow-up. And we'll just kind of tag team this one. I think this is like the primary reason that most people investigate Teams Premium is on the follow-up side. What do I mean by that? AI notes. That's really what I mean by that. There's a combination of different capabilities that come in a meeting recap. So I think if you've all taken a look at a meeting after it's ended, you'll note that there's a recap tab if you're in Teams for that meeting, and you can click on it, and maybe you can see the recap, and maybe you cannot. But if the recap capability is there because you have premium and the meeting was recorded, then you'll see something very similar to what I have on screen, which is that meeting recording. And there's some pretty cool things that you'll see in addition to the recording, like AI notes, which is all based off of the transcription. So they're very verbose in nature. You can flip over to the transcript itself. So, if you click here, that's transcript. Anywhere where there was some app mentions that were going on, you can highlight those by clicking on that button. Think of this as like a filter for the meeting. It's kind of neat because you'll see in the recording where those mentions occurred. And you can notice here how even in the AI notes, I've got a topic being discussed, and I can see where in the meeting at 5 minutes and 1 second that topic began to be discussed. So I can click on that within the AI notes and go to that portion of the meeting to consume that conversation that's being transcribed. Pretty cool capability.
Yeah, and one of the things that we like as far as like the theme we were talking about. So why do we care? And so like the AI notes to tie back to who needs the license to be able to see it. You have to have a Teams Premium license to be able to see the actual automatic AI notes. So this is one of those ones that to get benefit from this feature, everybody's got to have it unless you get the meeting organizer or somebody that has it to copy the notes out and then share those AI notes out with other people. but it really does give you the ability to have a synopsis, and pretty much it tells you what happened in the meeting. So it's kind of a recap, as it calls it, even of the meeting, instead of some other options. Like, for example, how does this compare to Copilot? Uh, Both can give you a recap of the meeting. Why would I choose one over the other? Or maybe I want both. The benefit of having this one, as Galen mentioned, it gives you, since it's meant to just be a snapshot of what happened, it does give you the more verbose messages. Okay, hey, here's what was discussed. Here's the assignments. Here's who it was things were assigned to. So it really comes in handy that way, because it's meant to be, hey, a point in time, here's what was happening. Copilot will also give you a recap, but Copilot's power is that it's designed to be have a conversation with. So you can ask it, that, hey, where did we talk about this in this meeting? Or you can ask it for a recap at any point in time throughout the meeting, even if the meeting hasn't even completed yet. So case in point, if I come in late, I can say, okay, hey, catch me up to what was been discussed so far. But it gives you the ability to prompt for, hey, this is the information I want. I heard somebody mention a use case once that I thought was an interesting one. If you're in a meeting with maybe some coworkers, you got a team meeting, and that meeting gets rather heated. People getting rather they're getting rather defensive. They're defending themselves. What have you? You can actually ask Copilot to say, okay, hey, at what point did this meeting start going to a negative connotation? And it'll tell you, it's like, okay, yeah, it's about this point. And then you can talk, it shows you the topic, and you can say, okay, that was the topic that got everybody heated up. Got it. So you have the different abilities to the AI recap for Teams Premium. This gives you a snapshot. This is what it was. Copilot allows you to be able to query and reason over that whole transcript.
Yeah, and what's important to note about this is, again, back to the who needs to be licensed. So you have to have a Teams Premium license in order to consume the recap in this manner. Otherwise, you can't. So, I go back to that. Hey, have your project managers licensed with Teams Premium, ensure that they use a meeting template where their project meetings are automatically recorded, and then they can take the notes that were AI generated and share those out with the rest of the meeting participants and the various stakeholders. At least that's a good practice. And if you're concerned about not being able to license everyone in the enterprise with Teams Premium, you can target the audiences where it makes sense. And those, I think, are some of the recommendations we have with respect to where it makes sense. So, again, I think it's really important to say, from an AI note perspective, that they're going to be much more verbose because of how the notes are being created with Teams Premium versus what summaries you might receive from Copilot. Let's see here. I guess we should just take a look, huh? Let's just take a look and explore, shall we? Um, I went back through the treasure trove of meetings and found a meeting that we could take a look at. Um, Not unlike the meeting we're currently in. But and how I got to this is I simply found this meeting chat in my chat stream and clicked on it, and in chat it said view meeting recap. Um, and there's a lot of chats going on there, but I really want to call your attention to this view recap. So that is what I clicked on, and that led me here. And this is very much like the slide that we were just looking at. In fact, AI notes is what's selected, and I can expand each of these areas to get further into the details, right? What was Sherry talking about with respect to navigation tips? And how did we introduce this meeting? And remember, I said we can have project managers or those that are licensed with Teams Premium distribute these AI notes, and they can do that simply by clicking on Copy All. and then pasting that into an email and sending it on out. One of the things that doesn't really happen in a user group meeting, thank goodness, is that there's action items that are created. But in any other meeting, the action items, if we had them, would be notated here, as well with whom they are assigned to. So let's talk about whom they are assigned to a little bit. I've got this meeting recorded, and I do have some speaker attribution notated beneath the recording. So you can see in this case, MCT Oswald spoke for most of the meeting. That's Sherry Oswald. And I spoke at the beginning in the same capacity that Sharon spoke at the beginning of this meeting, introducing the group to the speakers and announcements and all of that good stuff. And you can see that there were some other speakers as well, noted by name, right? So they've logged into Teams and they've joined the meeting. There's quite a few people here that spoke, and I can go in and see where in the meeting I was actually speaking at this time. So just by clicking on the bar, I can advance to different places within the meeting to see what we were talking about, maybe what I was asking. So it's a pretty cool way to navigate the meeting. You'll see that there's also a topics thing that's not really available, and chapters still hasn't hit. So these are all the things that we've been waiting for a long time to see in Teams Premium, and were teased about quite a bit by Microsoft, but have yet to drop. So some exciting features that hopefully we'll see in the near future.
And one thing, this is a feature that we kind of see some value in, kind of as it relates to this recap. It's not necessarily a Teams Premium one, but it does help you be able to get some value out of it. Is if you're in a 100% virtual meeting like this, everybody's signed in with their account, so the recap knows exactly who's speaking. If you're in, for example, in a conference room and you have 5 attendees in a conference room, all 5 of them, if they talk, are all going to get attributed to the conference room or to whoever's logged in, as opposed to individually. One of the things, the features that Teams supports, is they have the ability so you can configure voice profiles, which allow you to be able to say, okay, Teams within your tenant can recognize that, oh, okay, even though this came from a conference room, I know Ryan was speaking at this point in time because I've recognized his voice because he configured his voice profile. Okay, I can attribute to those comments being made by Ryan, so that way, whether it's for the AI recap, whether it's for Copilot, it knows that, okay, hey, this is the person that actually said it. So it gets you a better experience. But it's one of those things that your users have to go on and turn on and enable for themselves. Work with whatever privacy team you've got in your organization, because they may or may not want that configured. But it is a really cool feature that really adds value to meetings, to be able to have the attribution instead of just, okay, hey, the conference room spoke for 45 minutes, but we have no clue who was actually speaking.
Yeah, so if you're using Teams Room devices in your organization, if you've taken the time to implement those, I highly recommend taking the additional time to come up with the change management and adoption of those profiles, because they'll greatly enhance meeting recaps. They'll greatly enhance, if you're not using Teams Premium and you're using Copilot, all of those things are going to benefit from you taking the time to do that. So highly recommend taking that step. And maybe that's an advanced way of continuing to level up the quality of the meeting services that you're providing. Because remember, it's all about the connections in these meetings, especially remote or virtual meetings. We've lost some of the connections that we tend to gain when we're in a room together, and this is one way. Looking back at a meeting, you can have that enhanced connection. Speaking of connections, does anyone have a question on the AI recap or any of the recap capabilities? Cool. So we've got a few minutes left here. We want to be cautious of your time. We do have some specialized connections that we'd like to highlight because they're pretty cool. And especially with Ignite coming up next week. There might be some announcements related to these. There typically is at large Microsoft 365 focused conferences. So this should, at the very least, give you a good foundation when you're reviewing what's been announced at Ignite.
Yeah, so a lot of this, like the biggest thing is a lot of these, the first ones, like we're talking about town halls. Okay, you don't need Teams Premium to get town halls. You can do a town hall without Teams Premium. That's just fine. And some of the other connections, but these Microsoft has added in extra performance and extra options to be able to support larger use cases if you do have Teams Premium. So, for example, for town halls, without Teams Premium, you can have up to 10,000 attendees. Whereas if you have Teams Premium, you can now have up to 20,000 attendees. And also, you can have 50 simultaneous events running in your tenant at once. I forget what the non-premium number is. You also have the ability to do the town hall emails and then live translation in up to 10 languages, Klingon included is one of the 10 options that you can select from. So you have a lot of those things that you get some of these extra features added into town halls just by the fact of the organizer having Teams Premium for this particular feature.
How many people have used town halls or even live events? Anybody?
If you have, go ahead and okay, we got one thumbs up here. Anybody else, you can just go ahead. Yeah, raise your hand. We got a few.
Awesome. Okay. Cool. All right. So just about 30%.
Right?
Awesome. So, I think if you've used live events in Teams, then some of, what we're talking about, especially with like webinars and managing what attendees see, is something that you've already experienced and that you can kind of configure a scene and then make that scene go live. And you have very much that capability now through webinars, even enhanced with some green room kind of technology, so that you can kind of dial in how you look and what's going to be seen before you send that live. As well, you can customize emails that are sent out for webinars, have a wait list, and then approve registrants. So if you're doing webinars, if that's your thing, Teams Premium definitely adds some capabilities there that enhance that type of connection. And one of our most favorites.
I was going to say, one of our favorite features here is Microsoft Mesh. And not just because there's a couple things to keep in mind. There is Microsoft Mesh, and then there's immersive spaces. So not to confuse the two, Galen and I have a session we do on the whole topic of all this because we think it's cool enough. But so in Teams right now, if you are on the same tenant, you can click on View in the top and go to immersive space, and you have a 3D space. Everybody can get in. Cool. So what we're talking about when we're talking about Teams Premium is Microsoft has a dedicated Microsoft Mesh offering, which allows you to do customizable event spaces. So you're doing events, you can customize out different artifacts, you can change out to different things. They have a lot of cool functionality you can add in. But the thing that we like about this is that this enables connection, whether you're talking immersive space or Microsoft Mesh, in a better way than instead of just a flat 2D representation of somebody's face. You actually do get to see better their whole mannerisms. You get to see their body language a little bit more, and you actually get to see in-person depth with that. So really cool stuff that comes out of that, and including the ability to be able to have spatial audio. So if I'm close to somebody, I can hear them better. They could be on the other side of the room, and I don't hear them. So basically, it really allows a lot closer experience to what in-person really is, as opposed to just a regular Teams meeting, for example.
Yeah, so there's a lot of really cool features that are coming out just within the last couple months. There's been some pretty neat new developments, and there's some fairly active, or very active, I should say, groups that are developing custom mesh environments. There was a party that just happened for Halloween with a really cool like haunted house kind of environment that the host put together for the party. So if you're interested in attending any groups or any mesh events to try it out, especially if you have like a MetaQuest device or anything like that. Follow up with us in chat or LinkedIn because it's a fun group to be a part of. And yeah, if you're into it, yeah, I think you'll really like it. So let's go ahead and proceed towards a kind of a wrap up, so to speak, where we'd like to just kind of highlight some of the reasons why it's important to invest in Teams Premium. Maybe it's not for every member in your organization, but definitely for project managers, for your sales folks, for anyone where those meeting templates or having that custom branded experience might make sense. You're going to accelerate productivity. You're going to save some time with Teams Premium in the background taking notes for you because you don't have to focus on that part, right? You can focus on being engaged in the meeting itself, making that connection. So from a productivity perspective, there's a great benefit to having Teams Premium deployed.
As mentioned before, the engagement, being able to actually have people connect, was one of the things I mentioned. That the beauty of recap is it allows the attendees to focus on the meeting and what's going on, as opposed to, oh, I got to make sure I'm taking notes. And then there's been time frames I've been in meetings like, hey, Ryan, what do you think about this? I'm like, oh, sorry, I was taking notes on things. So can you repeat the question? By having the ability to be more engaged in the meetings, it enables people to be more present and connect better, instead of, okay, doing subsequent tasks that now the AI tools, whether it's for the recap, can take advantage of for us. That way, it's okay, action items, notes are all taken. I just have to focus and just participate in the meeting.
And there's also some great accessibility features, with live captions. And so there's, again, just another way to engage with a broader audience and a more meaningful level.
And then security. One of the things, as we talked about with end-to-end encryption, you've got watermarking, you've got sensitivity labels. It allows people to be confident in the ability that the information they're sharing is properly secured and protected.
Of course, compliance, which is hugely important as we proceed, especially into the era of AI. So, as Ryan mentioned previously, we can associate sensitivity labels with all of those meeting templates, and enforce your compliance requirements as we go.
And then standardized meeting options. We've mentioned this before. That way, you don't have to remember. It's like, ooh, did I remember to turn on recording, or did I remember to turn on this feature? It's already there. It's just everybody's okay. Hey, click, select the appropriate template, and you're off and running.
And all of that is down to enhanced connections, right where we started, right? So Teams Premium does a great job of that. I hope we've illustrated that to you. And if you have any questions, I know we're kind of at the end of time, but if you have any questions, you think of any, please do contact us. You can reach us on the interwebs. There's our email addresses. And of course, feel free to find us on LinkedIn, or through Sharon and the rest of the Kansas City User Group team. We'd be more than happy to follow up with you on any capacity to help you out with Teams Premium.